Insulin resistance is the most common metabolic condition in adults over 35. It drives things such as weight gain, fatigue, high cholesterol, brain fog, and even pre-diabetes. And the thing is, most people who have it have no idea because standard blood work won't catch it until it's been progressing for years. In this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step protocol, and by the end, you'll know exactly what insulin resistance is, how to potentially confirm it, and the specific steps I use with my clients to reverse it naturally. But before we dive into the video, please make sure you download this free guide that I created for you called The 5 Signs Your Metabolism is Broken. I left the link in the description below. So what is insulin resistance? So insulin is the key that unlocks your cells to receive glucose from your bloodstream. So when your cells have been exposed to chronically high insulin from years of things such as refined carbohydrates, stress, and inflammation, they stop responding to the key. Now your pancreas has to compensate by producing more insulin, and then your blood sugar levels stay quote unquote normal on your labs for a while because the pancreas is working overtime. But the issue is the underlying resistance is continuing to build. And eventually the pancreas can't keep up, and then your blood sugar continues to rise, and now you have what they call pre-diabetes and then type 2 diabetes. So how do you know if you are insulin resistant? Well, you could experience things such as energy crashes 1 to 2 hours after a meal, inability to lose weight despite restricting calories, intense carbohydrate cravings, especially mid-afternoon, and also dark skin patches at the neck or armpit area. Then this is directly visible sign that you may be insulin resistant. And then belly fat accumulation that is disproportionate to your overall body weight, and cholesterol trending upward year over year. If you experience 3 or more of these, then you probably are insulin resistant, and that deserves a little attention regardless of what your fasting glucose shows. So here are the 5 steps I use to help naturally reverse it. Number 1 is to remove refined carbohydrates completely. For me, this is non-negotiable. So what are refined carbohydrates? That's things such as bread, pasta, packaged foods, sugar. They all spike insulin with every serving. So you cannot reverse insulin resistance while continuing to spike your insulin 3 to 5 times per day. It's just not going to happen. And this is not the same as removing all carbohydrates. I want to make that very clear. Things such as whole fruit contain sugar bound to fiber, water, and minerals. So that absorption curve is completely different from refined carbohydrates. Now here's where I want you to start. For 30 days, remove all refined grains, added sugar, and packaged foods. And I want you to replace that with things such as fruits, vegetables, legumes, and clean proteins. This single change shifts the insulin curve more than anything else. All right, next thing we're going to do is rebuild the insulin sensitivity through movement. So muscle contraction is insulin independent. What does that mean? When you contract a muscle, it can absorb glucose without insulin. And this is one of the most powerful tools you can use in order to help reverse insulin resistance. You don't need a complex workout program. All you need is to be consistently moving, doing things such as resistance training 3 times a week, and then also a 10 to 15 minute walk after every meal. And that post-meal walk is underutilized and underestimated because a 15-minute walk after eating can reduce the post-meal glucose spike by at least 20 to 30%. And over time, this retrains your insulin response. Next, we're going to reduce the inflammatory load. So inflammation and insulin resistance drive each other in cycles. So inflammation impairs insulin signaling, and insulin resistance produces what we call metabolic byproducts that increase inflammation. Now, breaking that cycle requires reducing systemic inflammatory inputs such as processed seed oils, refined sugar, chronic stress, sleep deprivation, and gut dysbiosis. All right. So what I like to add are anti-inflammatory foods, specifically berries, citrus, leafy greens, turmeric, ginger, and herbs that help modulate the inflammatory response. Now, these are not supplements, they're food. Step number 4 is going to be support the pancreatic and glandular function. So the pancreas is the insulin producing organ. It has been under chronic stress in a person with insulin resistance. So it needs support, not just demand reduction. All right. So the specific herbs I use in my protocols is going to be Genema sylvestre, known to support healthy blood sugar levels. I also like to use bitter melons, which has been studied for insulin mimicking properties. And then cinnamon, which also helps support cellular glucose uptake. I also support the adrenal glands here because cortisol directly counteracts insulin. So high cortisol means high blood sugar regardless of your diet. And this is why glandular support has to be addressed for both organs. And step 5 is going to be to improve your sleep quality. So a single night of poor sleep produces an increase in your insulin resistance the following day. Now, this is not a minor variable because sleep is a primary metabolic intervention. What matters here is, number 1, you're sleeping at least 7 to 9 hours. It's consistent sleep and wake times, and you have a cortisol rhythm that supports you actually dropping into a restorative sleep rather than a shallow stress sleep. So some things I recommend is 60 minutes before bed, no screen time. Consuming things such as magnesium glycinate, which you can get from foods such as leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate. And if possible, I recommend getting blackout curtains and making sure your air conditioning is set to at least 72 degrees Fahrenheit, if not lower than that. So what can you expect if you follow this protocol? So in the first 2 weeks, you should notice an energy shift. All right, so less crashing after meals, more consistent afternoon energy. And in the 3rd to 4th week, this is where you should notice weight beginning to move. So cravings are reduced, sleep quality starts to improve. And then in those last 60 to 90 days, this is where labs start to shift. So your fasting insulin drops, your triglycerides start to reduce, your cholesterol starts to hit more optimal levels. These are just timelines. I see these clinically. And obviously every individual is different, so it's going to vary. But the direction is consistent when the protocol is followed. Understand, guys, that insulin resistance is reversible. I've seen it happen in people who were told they were on the road to diabetes. The body has an extraordinary capacity to heal when you get out of its way and give it the right inputs.